We talk weeklies after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We talk weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful. Now you lagging again, Spark. I don't know what just happened. Ah man, you was
Classy Lady
good not too long
Sparkle
ago. Yeah, you was lagging. So this is what we'll do. We're gonna cut
is
to
starting.
and
Oh my gosh.
whatever you just did, messed everything up because you was good for a minute. It was good for a minute. So what we'll do is once we come from the break, I want you to kind of I want you to give the intro. I want you to say who this is, and if you can jump in, jump in. If not, I'll continue the interview. All right. So I don't want you guys to go anywhere. When we come back, we got the doctor, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what she's doing, all the great and fantastic work. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back, y'all. We talk weeklies after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We talk weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
We talk weekly. Spark, why don't you let us know who do we have today? Who do we have today?
Today we have Dr. Shanor Ishmael. She's a maternal mental health therapist specializing in perinatal support. She provides compassionate, evidence based therapy for anxiety, depression, and other conditions. Her holistic approach includes collaboration with healthcare professionals and practical stress management tools, utilizing cognitive behavioral and mindfulness techniques for support mothers. Y'all already know what to do. Give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Dr. Shanor.
Shh.
Hi.
I'm giving you a round of
Hello.
applause. Round of applause. Listen, you're back. Jeez, that was a mouthful. That was a mouthful. Everything that you do, everything that you do. Uh, you know, I think was interesting because it sounds. Hold on. It sounds as if you specialize for women. Correct? Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
But what don't some of that convey or transfer over to the fellas also when we talk about mental health? Because the reason I'm asking that, and we'll talk about your whole kind of background and everything. The reason I asked that is because I just had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, what mental health has become a huge conversation lately, right? But more
Mm-hmm.
specifically, when it comes to the men, it appears that women don't necessarily have a problem conveying or communicating them needing, a safe space to have conversations or to vent, right? When it comes to men, we kind of like, we got this, we eat that, right? And so to the point of, your specialty, why did you feel it was significant to, I guess, have a specialty amongst, the ladies as opposed to, the collective, so to speak?
Uh-huh. So, yes, so there's in the collective, when we talk about the collective, we talk
Mm,
about perinatal mental health.
got
So,
you.
perinatal mental health incorporates before, during, after pregnancy, and incorporates both spouses, so both individuals, male and female, in that sense.
Got you.
I decided to specialize in perinatal mental health, one, out of a passion, and two, out of my own personal health journey, because I have two
Ah,
children myself in that sense. So that really drove my concept of showing and creating spaces for women as they go through the journey of motherhood. And I think also a part of it comes, and like you talked about, women often have the wherewithal, so to
yeah.
speak, in order to express how they feel, express what they're going through. But just because they're able to do it does not necessarily mean that there's a space available for them to do it.
Got you.
A space that validates their feelings, validates their emotions, acknowledges how they're feeling, and a space just for them. Because oftentimes, if you think about it, when women are in settings with their friends, their loved ones, whoever it may be, and they're sharing what they're going through, there's a sense of as well that whoever they're sharing it with might also be going through their own individual circumstances. And also the sense of it's not just your space. So other people may add in their additional stories, things of that nature. So that is why I created a space specifically for women. However, it's not just solely, I know I specialize in maternal mental health. However, I also see couples in the sense of creating a space for the couple to be able to navigate some of the challenges that they may face as they navigate through their perinatal health. So it's not exclusive solely to women because, again, like I said, I see couples. There is definitely a space that is needed for men as it pertains to their journey when it comes to perinatal health. There are resources available for them. There are therapists who specialize in perinatal mental health as a holistic standpoint.
Got you. Understood
Awesome.
that. Go ahead, Spark. Let me see if you. Yeah, oh, you good. You sound okay. Go ahead, Spark. Holla at me.
Well, doctor, you talked
Real quick,
about,
doctor. Can you pull your camera down just a little bit? All I see is like the
Oh,
top. There, there. That's much better. There you go. Go ahead, Spark. Holla at me.
doctor, you talked about perinatal. That's like the postpartum or prepartum of having, pregnancy. Can you tell us about what that looks like far as women and hormonally, or what their body goes through, and some of the feelings and mental delusions sometimes that women have?
mhm. So, as it pertains to the mental health aspect of it, when we talk about the perinatal period, like you said, it incorporates before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy. And I feel as though there's a true misconception that a lot of individuals believe that they can only develop mental health diagnosis as it pertains to perinatal period in the postpartum. So when they think of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, we have others such as like postpartum OCD, postpartum psychosis. They believe that they can only develop those after pregnancy. When in reality, perinatal mental health encompasses diagnosis during before pregnancy and during pregnancy as well. You can develop perinatal depression. You can develop perinatal anxiety. There's a notion when women get pregnant, they think it's supposed to be the happiest time of their life. And there are circumstances in which women have perinatal depression or perinatal anxiety or perinatal OCD during the pregnancy component. And it's not a conversation that is necessarily normalized. So they tend to think that something is wrong with them or that they're failing in their pregnancy or that there will be some kind of devastative reaction to them sharing with others that I'm not excited about being pregnant. So there are conditions that can happen before pregnancy. There are conditions that can happen during pregnancy and after pregnancy. And it's interesting that you talk about the hormonal component of it, because one of the main things that people know about is like the baby blues. So 80% of women in the postpartum period will have baby blues. And it is basically just a drastic shift in your hormones. When a woman delivers a baby, it's identified as one of the fastest hormonal shifts that you will experience, hence the diagnosis of the baby blues. And with 80% of women obtaining baby blues or having baby blues. However, that does not negate the fact that you can also have mental health diagnosis before you're pregnant, especially if your pregnancy or your fertility journey does not go according to how you expected. So whether you're receiving fertility treatments, whether you got a diagnosis in which you did not think would impact your fertility journey, those can contribute to perinatal depression or perinatal anxiety. Or maybe when you've been trying to get pregnant for a year, you go in to see a specialist and they tell you, well, you have endometriosis. And you're like, well, I didn't know about this. Or you have PCOS, things of that nature. So I tell people all the time, my soapbox is that if you are contemplating getting pregnant, if you are pregnant, get a mental health provider on your team. Your team should not just be your OBGYN or your midwife. You need a full medical team on staff, and that incorporates your mental health provider.
You know, you said something that stood out. It's two things. The first thing is I wanted to kind of back up when you said what it perinatal OCD. I
Uh-huh.
never heard of that. I want you to explain how that is expressed. You know,
Mhm.
how what does that look like? But the second question I have is we when we think of like the team, right,
Mhm.
that takes care of you or give you care,
Mhm.
is that we had another young lady that was talking about certain rights that you have that we don't even think about when we're in a hospital. Is that a right that women can say, look, I want this particular person on my team, and you can hold them accountable if they don't do that? So I know that was two dynamic questions, but I just wanted you to touch on them, to just for people who's watching to know what their rights are, what they can hold people accountable for, you know?
Absolutely. So first, let's talk a little bit about the perinatal OCD. The two common diagnoses that people often talk about: postpartum depression or perinatal depression, and postpartum anxiety or perinatal anxiety. But there's also perinatal and postpartum OCD. That's that obsessive compulsive behavior when you have a child. So when we talk about the sense of this fear that something is going to happen to you or your child, so we talk about the obsessive. It's interesting because the term people often use is a helicopter parent,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit further than the helicopter parent. I'll give you one example in which I had a client who had a newborn, and her sister came over to visit, and she made her sister change her entire clothes before holding the baby, when the sister came directly from her house to visit her sister. So when we talk about that
Yeah.
OCD, so that stress or that anxiety or that strain of something bad is going to happen to my child, and I constantly do these behaviors over and over. So constantly clean it. We're obsessively cleaning the space in which the baby is in. We're obsessively worrying that something bad is going to happen. Those can take a toll on our mental health over time. So it's very important to be mindful, and also for your loved ones to be mindful of the behaviors that you're exhibiting when you are pregnant or in your postpartum period. Now,
Dr.
when we
Chanel,
talk,
I did that. Wow.
oh, when you were postpartum,
Yes, I my with my well, first one, but my second baby, she was born in 96,
mhm,
and I didn't let nobody come near her. I had a cesarean section, and I kept my babies in the bed with me because I wanted to make sure they were breathing. I didn't let people, like, if you wanted to hold them, you had to wash your hands. You had to put on like a hospital gown and then like a blanket over your shoulder. So I actually experienced
yeah.
that.
When we talk about it in that sense, because there's some behaviors that are cautionary behaviors that we use with the newborn, right? But then when those behaviors go beyond reality, so to speak, when our thought processing goes beyond what is considered normal, realistic stressors or concerns. So that when you talk about, you had someone put on the hospital gown and then the um cloth over the shoulder. The washing of the hands, absolutely recommend. If anybody's going to touch your baby, make sure they wash their hands or they sanitize their hands in that sense. And I can relate to you a little bit in the sense because I had my child January 2020, and then the world shut down with COVID in March 2020. And my obsessive compulsive thoughts almost took over with me having a 2.5 month old, in that sense of literally, like, is the world ending, like what is happening? So I can definitely empathize with you in that sense. And with me even with me having the knowledge that I had or have, it took a while for me to realize, like, this is not normal thought processing. There needs to be some thought stopping. When we talk about that cognitive behavioral theory, there needs to be some thought stopping in place before we get out of what is actually normal thought processing. So yes, but then again, this is what we talk
Mhm.
about. Like, you need a team, you need a mental health provider on staff, you need someone that you're talking through this journey, because transitioning into the role of a parent is a drastic life transition. And when we talk about the hospital requirements, the hospital protocols, I always advocate for individuals to obtain a doula.
Mm,
I feel as
Oh,
though you
wow.
need someone
interesting.
who is solely on your side, whose
Interesting.
main interest is you. They're there just for you. They're showing up. They have no one else in that moment of your delivery to worry about but you. You are their overall concern. You need that.
Mm.
And you're not just someone in that sense that is there because you have family and friends that can be
Yeah.
there, but someone with the knowledge. So when I talk about a team, we have our OB or a midwife,
Right.
we have our doula, we have our mental health professional, we have our lactation specialist, we have our pelvic floor physical therapist. There are people that you can have on staff that is specifically there to support the mother. Because what often happens is that everyone is concerned about the baby during pregnancy, everyone is concerned about how the baby's doing postpartum. If we think about it, women have one postpartum follow up,
Hmm.
one at 6 weeks.
That's it.
That is
Yeah.
it. You
Mhm.
deliver a baby, you have a 6 week follow up, and that is it. Babies you have the 1 week follow up post delivery, you have the 1 month follow up post delivery. I think you have like a 4 month follow up post delivery for the baby, a 6 month, a 1 year. Babies have about 5 to 6 appointments between that first year birth with their pediatrician,
Oh,
but yet the mother only has one.
wow. Not
So you
Mhm.
not
need a
on,
team.
wow. Not only that, I heard that I think they kick you out the hospital in like 3 days or 2 days or something like that, right?
Oh
No,
yeah.
24 hours now.
Oh man, my
Yes.
bad. Jeez.
If you have a vaginal delivery and you
Jeez.
have no complications, you are out the hospital within 24 to 48 hours. If
Wow.
you are, like I said, no
Mhm.
complications. If you have a C-section, it may be up to 3 days with no complications. You are out the door. The interesting thing to know is that when we talk about maternal mortality, right, which is the death during that perinatal period, 53% of deaths occur 7 days postpartum to 1 year.
Mm.
Mm.
Imagine leaving the hospital in 24 hours, leaving the hospital in 3 days. But statistics shows that the majority of deaths occur 7 days to 1 year.
Mm.
This is why you need a team. This is
Jeez.
why you need someone checking on you in those in betweens.
Wow. Jeez. Mm, 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 mm.
Hmm.
Wow. Interesting. So to that point, there has been conversation based around uh, infant mortality and uh, women of color, more specifically black women,
Hmm.
right? What do you believe is the reason behind that? Is it that they're not following up? The doctors aren't following up? Is it that they're putting, women of color out the hospitals? What do you think is the cause for so many infant deaths from women of color, black women specifically?
Hmm.
What is the cause of that?
So you're correct. Within the United States, Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die due to pregnancy related complications. The United States actually has one of the highest maternal mortality rates when we talk about developed countries or high income countries. For when we look at the maternal mortality rate with Black women 3 to 4 times more likely to die, we look at the fact of, are Black women being heard? Do we have a culturally humble environment that's serving towards Black women? The CDC actually did a study that showed that 30% of Black women do not feel heard when they bring their concerns during the perinatal period to their providers. If you look at the mainstream stories, we're talking about the mainstream stories as it pertains to maternal mortality, the majority of these women went to the emergency room and they were dismissed. It's interesting because even in my own story, I delivered my daughter at 27 weeks a year and a half ago. And I remember going into the urgent care and I said, "Hey, I'm 27 weeks pregnant. I am throwing up. I am having upper quadrant pain." I knew what I knew what my symptoms were. And I'm expressing this to them. And the physician came in and he said, oh, it might be your gallbladder. It was not my gallbladder. I had developed overnight preeclampsia and placenta abruption, which forced them to deliver my baby at 27 weeks. So this is the part where we talk about Black women not feeling heard. I had individuals to advocate for me in that moment, and luckily I did, but a lot of times other women do not. So I went in telling them what my symptoms were, telling them I was pregnant. They didn't even do an ultrasound. They didn't put a baby monitor on when we first got there. Those are things we had to fight for. So when we talk about Black women not being heard, that's what contributes to the maternal mortality rate. Like, we go in with these concerns. And then also it goes back to culturally humble care. A lot of people still have this notion that Black women we have somehow more strength or more pain resilience, or we're feeling the pain that we have, or we're being dramatic in the symptoms that we're experiencing. It's been said by more than one medical provider that Black women sometimes are dramatic with the symptoms that they display. And it's like, are we dramatic, or are we not being heard? So that goes into this notion of the maternal mortality rate. I could have been a part of that maternal mortality rate had I not 10 toes down, stood down and said, this is what's happening. One of my really good friends is an OBGYN. I reached out to her, said, hey, this is what's happening. She spoke with the attending physician on staff, and he was still like, let's check your gallbladder. It's like, that's absolutely not what's happening here. So we really truly have to vocalize and fight just for the basic listening of what is happening to us. I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you express something to your physician, tell them to put it in a chart. Say, I'm expressing this concern to you. I need you to document it. Whether they dismiss them or they kind of validate what they're feeling, they need to document it.
That's golden. That's definitely golden. Yeah. Spark, you feel like you like
Doctor, what's the difference?
No, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
What's the difference between a doula and a midwife?
Yes. So interesting enough, this is a question that comes up quite often. A midwife is actually, it's a certified midwife nurse, and they are able to do deliveries, right? So they can actually deliver the baby. They operate in a medical setting in that sense. Where for a doula is what I call a part of your support team. So they're there to guide you through your delivery. They're there to provide that additional support during pregnancy and postpartum. They're there to teach you techniques in order, one, to advocate for yourself, and two, to help you during your delivery to make it as best of an outcome as can possibly happen. There are doulas that also do additional services. So when we talk about, there are a lot of doulas that do a lot of training, education, preservation. When we talk about like placenta preservation and things of that nature, go into that direction. So there is a difference between the two. They're not one and the same. They're different educational components. They provide different support. And this is why often when I say, oh, you can have an OBGYN or you can have a doula, because both of those can perform a delivery for you of your child.
Wow. You know, you dropping some jewels right now, doctor, because there's a lot of people that may watch this and say, I didn't know. Because me, in my head, I'm wondering if the medical team would even take issue with you, one saying, I want you to document this and intimidate, someone from, saying like, I can document, or having the right to say that I can document this. Why would you want that? I can see that actually happening. And I also can see a pushback by you saying, that I want this doula in here with me, right? I can see them pushing, well, they're not part of the medical team. Have you experienced or found people having challenges with requesting documentation or requesting, people from the medical staff, or you having someone that's going to look out for your rights specifically? Have you heard anything about that?
So yes, there are definitely challenges when you tell a medical provider, hey, I'm expressing this concern to you. Can you put it in my chart? And if they give you pushback, or if they fight against it, or they don't understand why, red flag. The thing about that you should understand is that you are not tied to your medical provider. If you are expressing concerns to your medical provider, if you do not feel as though you're being heard, you're being validated, your concerns are being addressed, you can always find someone else. Don't think you
Mhm.
have to just stick with them because that's who you're with. Granted, insurance components come into play, but there are other providers that you can see. The thing about it is that when we have to hold our medical providers accountable.
Right.
They have the knowledge because they've gone through professional training, but you are the expert on you. They cannot tell you what you are feeling, so you have to
Hmm.
express to them what you're feeling. They will validate that and provide insight into that. If they're not providing insight into that, you need to find someone else. Because again, you are the expert on you. They cannot tell you how to
Mhm.
be you or how to experience the things that you are experiencing. As
Doctor,
yeah, go ahead.
is there some type of technique or things that women can do that can help with the postpartum portion? Like I know that sometimes exercises or, like a hot bath, but are there any things that you can like share with us today that can help women that are going through either the prenatal or the postpartum of depression or hormonal changes?
Yes, absolutely. Like I talk about, I always say you need a mental health provider. So that is the first step, going through talk therapy. When we talk about, it depends on the severity. So talk about the severity of depression, of anxiety, of OCD. Postpartum psychosis is a medical emergency and should be treated directly to the emergency room. So if you have anybody who's experiencing psychosis, which is an alternation to reality, they need to go to the emergency room ASAP. However, when we talk about depression, anxiety, OCD, things of that nature, we often think of the three-prong approach to treatment. We think of therapy, so talk therapy, we think of support groups, and we think of medication management because sometimes there's a chemical imbalance that is happening in which we need medication to help with. But then we also look at the holistic components, right, which is what you're referring to: exercise, eating right. Whenever I check in with my clients postpartum, the three components I always tell them, because when you have a baby, sleep is out the window, right? So one of our basic needs we're already missing. So we need to ensure that we're getting outside every day. Once you have a baby, you need to be going outside during the daytime, whether you just go outside and sit, whether you go for a walk, depending on your recovery and how you're doing and your complications that you're having. The next is making sure that we're eating. Are we eating and are we drinking water? Are you staying hydrated and are you nourishing yourself? And the third one is, are you taking a shower every day? It may seem like such a simple task, but when you have a newborn, you sometimes realize you've gone 2 to 3 days and you haven't taken a shower yet. So those are my three things that I always say mom should do every single day. The others talk when we talk about support groups, making sure that your family, you have a postpartum plan and a delivery plan.
Wow.
You need both, not just a birth plan. People always talk about, oh, what's my birth plan? What do I want? Well, what's your postpartum plan? What support do you need? Not the baby, you as mom. And make a
Mhm.
list of things that you need done. So when your friend reaches out to you, your best friend says, hey, how you doing? Do you need anything? You said, absolutely, yes. I need you to come do these dishes. I need you to fold the baby's clothes. I need you to bring me something to eat. Do not
Mhm.
fear asking for help and receiving it.
I know that's right. I
Yeah,
think you
absolutely.
yes, that's amazing. Why don't you talk a little bit about, because I think you mentioned something that I never heard before, right? The plan.
Yes.
What would you say, or how would you tell someone to plan, like can you walk someone who may be watching this, walk them through what your, pre-pregnancy plan to your post, pregnancy
Mhm.
plan? How should they structure that? Because I never heard of that before, and I'm sure that would help many
Mhm.
people. I hear about, this is what you do when you have a baby, right? But they don't necessarily talk about the mental side of that. And I like
Mhm.
that you stress that. So can you walk someone through? Because I would like to use that as, a particular kind of like, this is a self-help guide, right? That
Huh?
you're giving. So walk someone who is potentially about to have a baby, walk them through their pre-plan and then their post-plan.
Yes. So for your birth plan, we talk about what do you want to happen to your delivery. We talk about things such as medication. Do you want medication to assist you during your delivery, such as like an epidural for pain management? But then we also talk about things less serious, so to speak, of like, do you want music in the delivery room? Do you want to bring a speaker? Do you want to have, who do you want in the delivery room with you, right? Do you want to have your spouse? Do you want a friend? Do you want to have family members? And ensuring that you're looking at your hospital policy to see how many people they allow in the delivery room and coordinate your plan accordingly. Do you want assistive devices? So do you want a birthing ball? Do you want a delivery in a hospital? Do you want a delivery at home? Do you want a water birth delivery? Do you want a hospital bed delivery? Do you want what kind of delivery style do you have in mind? When we make the birth plan, we always keep in mind that things do not always go as planned. Our goal at the end of the day, regardless, is healthy baby, healthy mommy. So whatever it takes to get to that point, sometimes when we get into a crisis situation, that is what we're looking for, especially when we talk about maternal mortality. When we talk about the postpartum plan, how do you want to be supported as a mom? What do you need? If you have a spouse, how do you want your spouse to show up? If you have other children, who will care for those other children during the time when you're in the hospital? Who will care for those other children during the first couple of weeks when you're in recovery? Who do you have someone that you want to come and stay with you? Do you guys reallocate chores and tasks within the household during your recovery period if you have a partner? When we talk about the fact of, do you need any equipment? So are you breastfeeding? Do you need a lactation specialist? Do you need nipple creams? Do you need a breast pump? Do you need, when we talk about the perinatal period, so the perinatal area, do you need, did you have a C-section? Do you need care for the C-section? Are you recovering well? Did you have a tear during your delivery? Do you need care for that tear during your delivery? So we talk about all the potential circumstances that could possibly happen during delivery and how you want to be supported in the postpartum. One of the things I always talk to my clients about that have just delivered is your 2 a.m. buddy, right? You need a 2 a.m. buddy when you're up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock feeding the baby, and you literally just want to go to sleep. And you need someone to check in to say, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Someone that will be there at 2 a.m. if needed. The baby's screaming, crying at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you just cannot take it anymore. Who is your 2 a.m. buddy? Who are you going to call? Who are you going to reach out to? And you know they will be there. Always have that person. When you show up for a mom postpartum, you are not showing up to play with the baby, to hold the baby, to see the baby. No, you are showing up to help her, to relieve her, so she can hold her baby, so she can play with her baby, so she can enjoy that period. You're there to do chores. You're there to wash the dishes, do the laundry, fold the baby's clothes, clean, provide meals. That is what you're there for as a support.
Wow. I heard Charles exhale. Like, it's a lot.
That's yeah, I'm sitting here like, wow, like, gee, okay, wow, it's definitely
but
job.
The resources that they have nowadays, like I said, my children were in the 90s, and it's just a lot different now. There, also there are certain cultures that have rituals too, that they tend to do pre and post, that they make sure that there's nothing cold that enters the body. The woman doesn't go out for a certain amount of time. All of these things are things that are healthy mom, healthy baby. So, doctor, those gems that you're sharing with us, thank you for that.
Yeah, Spark, and you know what? It doesn't help too, because I'm thinking now that some jobs, they're like certain countries, you can take off for like, I think it's like 6 months. To a year.
There's some that have a year.
Yeah, y'all got to go back when like
12 weeks max.
Yeah. Wow.
12 weeks max. And that is also where the narrative has to shift, right? We have to shift the narrative of what postpartum care, postpartum support looks like in corporate.
Wow. Unbelievable.
I agree. Now they did just add paternity leave for fathers, so that was something that they didn't have at one time too. So that, that's a better.
And I know many states now linger and have extended postpartum care for women up to 1 year for Medicaid. Wow. So Medicaid has extended postpartum care up to 1 year, where before, after you had the baby, you lost your health coverage after, I think it's 6 to 12 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the things that I didn't hear you mention, which I think may be important after hearing all that, I'm just like, wow. I think some men can use a little help as it
Mhm.
relates to understanding how they should support pre and post.
Correct.
Because some men, we just kind of like, oh, you had the baby, you just had the baby, just give the baby to me or something like that.
Mhm.
We don't think the emotional, baggage that could happen that you're now carrying. We don't think about even the pain, right? We don't
Mhm.
think of, the plan. Real quick, what would you say should be what should be a pre-plan and a post-plan for a man to support, their significant other when it comes to this? And you can answer this too, because I think sometimes men catch a bad rap when dealing with certain things because they emotionally have to try to adjust with the thousand of emotions that you're going through that we wouldn't necessarily have to go through or understand. So it's hard for us to understand maybe what you're going through. So that's,
Mhm.
triggering for us sometimes. I know that was a lot, but, I just kind of
Correct.
want to throw that at you. Yeah.
No, absolutely. As it pertains to men, component of this is a life, first of all, we have to understand this is a life transition for them as well, right? But there's also a certain level of understanding and grace that they have to give to women in the fact that we have carried a child and delivered a child. We are going to have some sort of adjustment period that has to happen, even when we just talk about medically, just healing in that sense. So, given some grace in that sense. I think one of the main complaints, or should I say concerns, that a lot of women have in the postpartum period who have a spouse that is a male is that their life has not changed, right? So they still continue to do everything that they were doing before baby.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a component of it that as a couple, you have to check in with each other. So, men, I want you to check in with the women in your life who have had a child. And women, you have to check in with the men in your life with who are there supporting you the child with. Because it's important to have clear, honest, open communication. Because the thing about that we have to mention is that men are not mind readers. They cannot read what is happening in our mind.
I can
So
I
unless
need
we are
I
verbalizing
Doctor,
that,
I just real quick, I want you to sit on that real quick because I'm unfortunately I didn't plug in my sound machine because I would have gave you an applause for that. Um, because we don't read minds. I just wanted to underscore that real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop you. Go ahead.
correct.
No doubt.
We have to identify our own triggers as women and then express that to the male in our life, right? Because like I said, they don't read our minds, so we have to verbalize. If you do not verbalize your expectations, do not get upset when your expectations are not being met. When we talk about the notion, there's this interesting term that we use called mom rage. So mom rage comes about when the woman is feeling overwhelmed, when there are things that are just continuing to pile on top of piling, and we have just hit our breaking point, and then we unleash. So the mom rage comes up. But the interesting thing is that there are things that are happening beneath the surface that are building before we get to that rage part. And as women, that is the part that we have to be mindful of, in the sense that what are the things that are upsetting us, and being able to talk about those smaller things before they compile and make this big explosion. So, yes, you have to express your expectation in order for your expectations to be met. Men, they will not and do not expect the father and the mother to show up in the same way. Allow the dad to be the dad. You dads allow the mom to be the mom. You cannot tell a dad how to dad, and the dad, you cannot tell a mom how to mom. You have to allow each person to show up in their own role, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That is how they have decided to show up.
For sure.
Now, you make decisions according to that, but that is how they decide to show up.
For sure.
Charles
No
is
doubt.
clapping.
I don't have
He's
my
like,
machine.
Everybody doesn't get the memo.
There you go.
Mhm.
So, doctor, do you just do maternal or do you help women that are, there's another stage of life after the parenting part, which is the menopausal part, which the
Mhm.
women tend to almost kind of repeat what they've done during those reproductive years. Do you help women in that age group or in that sector of life?
I do. I do. I see all adults, so 18 plus, as it pertains to reproductive health as a whole. So even on the other side, when we talk about menopause, we're talking about endometriosis, we're talking about PCOS, any form of reproductive health concern, which menopause is a part of it also because it's a hormone change that is happening. There's that component that I do see women in that sense as well. So yes, I see from 18 up.
Wow. Doc, I'm sorry. Geez, this time flew so fast. Flew so fast. I'm saying it's so many other questions that I want to ask you, and we only have about 2 minutes left. But I really want to get into your story and what was the trigger to have you start in this particular focus. Yeah.
Yes. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. So I have my license as a social worker within the state of Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. And I initially started my private practice in a sense to address women's health overall in the maternal mental health capacity, because I worked in medical social work for quite some time. And there was kind of a gap that I identified as it pertains to women's health and having a maternal mental health therapist. However, after going through my own experiences with my children, so I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And as we talked about, I had my 4-year-old at the height when the COVID just started. And I had my own concerns that I had as it pertains to, we talked a little bit about the postpartum OCD in that sense, and the postpartum anxiety. And when I had my daughter at 27 weeks, it was completely compacted with our 3-month NICU stay and just the concept of her fighting for her life. So I decided to create a space because not only as a person navigating the healthcare setting when we think about my mental health, but also as a Black woman navigating the mental health setting and the healthcare setting, there were challenges that I encountered that I was like, I really need someone to talk to. So therefore, I also created a space for other women, Black women, to feel safe, to feel heard, to have a judgment-free area just to talk. I think a lot of times for Black women, we have this narrative of the strong Black woman. I need to be able to make it through anything, push through anything, fight through anything just to get to what I want. But in that narrative as well, it takes a toll on our mental health. So creating a space that is culturally humble for me to say, I hear you, I see you. However, let's talk through this to see how healthy it is and put in some healthy coping mechanisms to help you navigate so you're not relying on survival mode all the time. You should not always be in survival mode in motherhood. And that is something that I've learned and I've now passed on to other clients that I have. You can thrive in motherhood. It's not just surviving each phase.
Wow. Well, doctor, I hope that you felt that this was a safe space for you,
It
right?
was. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you had a great time. And you have to promise you come back to the show.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. I thank you guys for having me. As
Thank
you can
you,
see, like this is
doctor.
like my soapbox. I could talk about this for a very long time.
Well, well,
And
well, we want you to.
you're good at what you talk about.
Yeah,
You
that's
Oh,
good.
thank
definitely are.
you.
Thank
So
Thank
you.
you.
before we let you go, however, can you let everyone know how they can get in contact with you, find you, if they need to speak to you because they got some stuff they want to download? How can they do that? How can they find you and all that good stuff, man?
Absolutely. So I'm on socials. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Dr. Shay Noor. You could always, my first name is very unique. So you can literally just search my first name and you'll find me if you just Google my first name. But I also have a private practice. So my private practice is inspiredcounselingcenter.com. You can go there and submit a request for consultations. My consultations are free. I will talk with you, ensure that we're a good match. Because one of the things that I truly believe that you have to have a certain rapport with your therapist. So if I'm not a good match for you, I never take offense. I help you find someone that is a good match for you because I truly believe in mental health advocacy. So yes, you can reach out to me, inspiredcounselingcenter.com, Dr. Shay Noor on Instagram or Facebook. Just send me a message. I was 407-494-6165. You can call me, text me. I am available.
Please tell me real quick. This
Awesome.
is I'm throwing a little curveball at you. Please tell me where I'm hearing a little accent. Where is that from?
So I am originally born and raised in Jamaica. I am Jamaican.
Awesome.
I heard it. I heard it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, it was say your name one time because I just want to make sure we got your whole name. We said it right.
Yes. So I am Dr. Shaynor Ishmael.
That Ishmael. There you go, Dr.
Okay.
Shaynor Ishmael. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A Dr. Shaynor Ishmael, and it was
Yeah.
an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And once something that we say is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. Thank you for coming, and we wish you the best. And again, we're gonna have to have you on real quick because I like this conversation we're having about mental health. Because us guys, like I got my guy about to come on, Sharif Johnson. We're gonna talk a little bit about him, but sometimes the fellas we sit here and be like, oh, we got it. We just talk to our homie. We don't need to talk to a therapist, It's one of those type of things, So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But I thank you for coming to the show, and make sure you come back.
Of course, anytime.
All right, there you go.
Thank you, doctor.
So I don't want you guys to go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to have my guy on. This is We Talk Weeklies after the talk of WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And the beautiful.
Dr. Shaynor.
There, she got it. She understood that. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back, y'all. Holla.
Hey, this is Roxanne Shante. Your week cannot be complete unless you listen to or watch We Talk Weekly. Please believe it, baby.
We Talk Weeklies after the talk with WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
All right, Spark, who do we have today? We got somebody else coming on. Tell us who we have today. Who do we have today?
Today, sure, we have Sharif Johnson, a stand-up comedian born in Bayonne, New Jersey, celebrated for his clever theatrical and storytelling style. He has performed at major comedy clubs nationwide and won a Sirius XM radio comedy competition, establishing himself as a rising star in the industry. He debuted comedy album I Wish That Was a Joke, releasing on May 23rd, humorously explores his real life experience, including becoming a parent at 17. Sharif's witty and candid storytelling offers a hilarious yet poignant glimpse into his personal journey. Y'all already know what to do. Give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Mr. Sharif Johnson.
My God,
hey, I like that. I like that, man. that was great. That was great. Thank y'all for that warm welcome, because I feel it right in my heart. Right in my heart.
My God, how are you, my friend? We're going to start there. How are you?
What's up, my guy? So I'm doing good. I'm literally just so I'm sorry. I was supposed to be home a lot sooner. I'm just coming from the city. I had I think I had about like 3 shows in the city. And I had to bounce around, and I was trying to get home in time. But look at this. I'm going to show y'all how I am. I'm in New York traffic.
Yeah, wow.
That's
You're not behind the wheel, are you?
Who is it?
You're not behind the wheel.
Oh, no, my wife is.
Okay.
Say hi, baby. Say hi, baby. Say hi, baby. Hey, look, let me show y'all how crazy it is. Look, we full of love, but guess what this car ain't full of? It's on the E.
Oh man.
Wow.
Hey, but we full of love, though.
Yeah.
We full of love.
We gonna make it.
Don't worry. We full of love. We ain't worried about this car.
She said, we gonna make it. I know that's right.
Go make it.
That's what's up. My God, well, I appreciate you for, holding it down. Your wife shouted her out, holding her down right now. You guys are holding it down. So I appreciate you for jumping on the show real quick. But I think it's interesting. Let's talk about your show since you left from there. How was the shows? For you?
Oh, man, the shows were phenomenal, man. So the reason I love New York is because there's no place in terms of comedy like New York, because you can get up 4 times, you know what I mean, in one night easily. You know what I mean? So I was able to do 3 shows, and it fast tracks my set on expertise in it. You know what I mean? Like yeah. So that's why I love. So I had great shows, man. It was great audiences, and the good thing about New York too is you're getting diverse audiences based on the room. So like I can start up in the Bronx, you know what I mean, talking to the hood, you know what I'm saying, and I could make my way down to West Side and talk to the upper echelons, and then I can make my way to the village and talk to the
Were you the class clown, Sharif, in school?
Oh man, all day. Let me tell you, I had a teacher tell me, she was like, you know, Sharif, I let me tell you, I hate you as a student. She said, but I love you as a person. And I said, you know, I'll be damned. That's the best thing anybody ever told me. Thank you.
I know that's right.
But I understood what she was saying, like, because she would, my rule was, right, which is still a rule I use in comedy, right? Yeah. If it's funny, it goes, right? So as long as I made her laugh, I couldn't get kicked out the class. Yeah. But if I don't make her laugh, I'm getting kicked out. So I feel like I found lines to play with at a young age, bro. And I don't mean cocaine for any of your watches. I'm not playing with them lines, people.
No doubt. Look, so I got a couple questions for you then. You know, let's talk a little bit about comedy, right? Yes, and there's a lot going on in comedy right now. But I want to start with you. Have you ever had, because a lot of comics talk about hecklers. Have you ever had a heckler, and how do you deal with that?
So have I? I've had many hecklers, man. First of all, the first heckler you're ever gonna get, you know, we come from black family. They the worst hecklers. You get heckled trying to tell a story at the dinner table. Never. So I was already ready for the crowds. But how do I deal with it? Is I always try to keep it funny. You know what I mean? Like that's the number one rule. Like I said, with everything, especially comedy, I want to keep it funny. So I always try to reverse it, and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I can lose, you know what I mean, but it's rare. Right. It's very very rare. So what I will do is I usually take a heckler and I give them what they're asking for.
I know that's right.
I give you what you're asking for. You want a little attention? That's how I do them how my mom used to do me. Oh, you want to act up in class, huh? Oh, so tell me your little jokes now.
Yeah. Now they on Front Street. They like,
let me see how funny you really are when you're talking to somebody funny. Come on, tell me what you want to say. So that I just deal with it like that. I try to keep it fun. And I honestly, sometimes, a lot of times with my act, I open people to talk because I can handle that. Some comedians, you know, that's not their skill set. Yeah. You know, like on the fly, they like to just stick to their set. I love my set too, and I love to work on jokes, which is why, you know, I'm crafting so many each night. But at the same time, I do like to have fun. You know, I like to break out of that regular robotic set cycle. So sometimes, most of the times, it actually makes me think different too. You know, like they may heckle at a point and make me think on a joke in a way I wasn't thinking before.
Interesting.
So creatively, it helps sometimes. Sometimes it's like, shut up. Don't nobody want to hear you. No. But there are a lot of times where somebody heckles, they'll say something just because they just felt like, oh, I got to say this. And I'm like, you know what? I say something to them and I'm like, I should keep that in my set now. So I've done that a lot too.
I like that. Now, Dave Chappelle have mentioned, or he talked a lot about his situation when someone jumped on a stage.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that potentially that could happen to you? Have you had a moment like that? And is there amongst kind of like your peers this, this cloud, on y'all now that maybe something like that may happen?
So me personally, man, I'm 6 foot, $190, and I play football. So I'm not as come on, man. I'm not welcoming no problems. I don't want to sound like that. I'm not a tough guy. You know what I mean? But I'm not a pushover. But that I've never felt that fear, and I don't what could I say? I don't expect it. I'll say that. I don't expect it. I've never had that problem. and I don't expect it to happen. I feel like that was a very small period in time where, you know, from the Will Smith started out. Let's be real.
Yeah,
He opened the gate with that smack. He opened up.
Yeah.
Hey, he opened the doors to the church on that one. Whoa. I'm sorry, Chris Rock, but it's true.
Yeah.
Once he did that, it made a lot of regular people feel like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
You know, because and that's why a lot of people were upset with Will. And Will is, you know, I got a lot of respect for Will as an actor and for everything he's done in his career. I admire the dude, you know what I mean? But it did he's got to take some responsibility in the sense of it made regular people go, if Will do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know?
No
I
doubt.
can storm the stage now. And it made people feel like, yeah, if a comedian is saying something, no, what you do is if you don't like what somebody's saying, just go, leave. You know, you don't have to stay there and take that. You know what I mean? So
I have a question for you, Sharif.
In that sense, yes.
Sorry,
Come on,
my internet is lagging. This is a more serious question though. A lot of comedians have had stories that they told about like depression, and it seems like a lot of comedians say that, you know, they were a very sad child or very depressive type of story behind it.
Yes.
Can you give us some insight on that as a comedian, and how true is that those statements from a lot of different comedians?
So what I've noticed is so as you can tell, I'm like an introvert extrovert, I always say, right? Like I like to be to myself, but I have extrovert qualities when I can be around people and I love to have fun. What I noticed is I didn't notice that until I got into comedy. I didn't realize that there are a lot of sad comedians. Absolutely, that's true. You know, like there are a lot of depressed people who go on stage and this is how they heal. You know what I mean? They heal through laughter. And I'm one of those people too, by the way, in the sense of but I never found myself, even though I had a tough upbringing, like I wasn't raised by my father or mother. I haven't lived with them since the age of 12. I witnessed a lot of things growing up, real tough childhood for some people, right? But I still feel blessed even with that, because I always tell people, I'm like, I lived a privileged foster kid life, in the sense of, even though I didn't live with my mother, I was put through a system of friends and family where I didn't go through that system, but I still went through a system, because I don't care who you are, when you move into another household as a child, when it's not your mother, nobody gonna love you like your mother or father. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't care how much your family love you. It's just it's not. You may get close to it, but it's never really the same. And I grew up like that too. But I also find myself personally healing through laughter personally, where it's like when I get on stage, if I can't laugh at it, most of the time I can't deal with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think a lot of comedians, it's how can I say this? It's a two-way street with the audience and us, right? Like we give them laughter and their laughter gives us back things that may feel like an empty void sometimes. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're doing with our sets as comedians. We're putting pieces of jokes together. At least the real good comedians who I study and I admire, like the Chappelles, the Chris Rocks, the you know, you could say Eddie Murphy, Louis C.K., Richard Pryor. We take our actual lives and then we piece it together through laughter. And there's something about that connection with the audience of putting those pieces together that kind of fills us too at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's like we giving y'all something in the sense of you get to laugh, you get to get away from your life. But guess what? You've just made my personal life feel like, oh, I have an understanding of it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I yes, there are a lot of sad. And this is the funny thing when I was saying how I'm an extrovert. I thought a lot of comedians would be like me, because I'm so, you know, I'm in your face, you know, and I don't mean to be, but I just love good vibes. And a lot of comedians aren't that way.
Interesting.
You know, they're not. Most comedians are like, there's a study that I think they say most billionaires are introverts.
Yeah.
Right? I think they said it's only like 2% would be extroverts. I feel like that when it comes to comedians too. Most comedians, believe it or not, are introverts. Yeah. Even though we go in front of crowds and we move people with laughter and we vibe. Most people, when you get to them off stage, they're like so much like, yo, I want to go to my corner.
Yeah.
You know, I want to hide.
Yeah.
So I found myself being not shunned, but like people were like drawn away from me because I was too much. You know what I mean? And with introverts, you almost have to talk like you have to talk very low to them, right? It's like a song. Let them hear your song low, and then once they like it, you can turn the volume up. So I found myself having to approach comedy that way, where it was like, all right, let me calm down, you know, slow down, talk to them low. And then once they know Reef, it's like, hey, baby, you know me already. It's too late. You love me now, dog. So, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But that was a great question, Sparkle.
Yeah. Shout out to the wife. She got you out that tunnel. She
Hey,
hold
she
you
got me
down.
out.
She just paid for the gas.
We at the gas station.
I see her. I gotta keep shouting her out throughout this interview.
Come on now.
I know that's right.
She
Go
proud
ahead,
of it.
sister.
She ride with it.
Come
So
on,
look,
man. That's my baby. Listen, this is my lady Ashley. She was at my first show ever, man. First show ever. I've been at this now for 9 years.
So let's talk about that then, right? Because I want to know. Let's talk about you meeting her, right? And was it a funny moment that got her, you know? And you know, I would love to hear from her. I would love to hear from her too. Matter of fact, put her on right now, right? So here you go. So why don't you talk about how you guys met and how he won your heart?
Oh, y'all see the Nike hat? Look,
I know that's right.
won't he do it?
But we met in high school. I was a freshman. He was a sophomore. And what's funny is I cheered, and me and my friends, you know, after our competition, we went to the courts. That's where everybody was at. And he knew my friend, and he goes up to me and my friend, and he says to my friend, hey, girlfriend, is this going to be my new girlfriend? I said, what? Like, honestly, I was like, but it was one of those things. It was one of those things, you know, you're young and it's like, oh my God, but it's like, he's handsome though. Like, he looked good. Thank you. And honestly, it's so funny because, you know, we met and we definitely like hit it off. You know, he's always been the same. I think, honestly, just being able to make me laugh, good person, good guy. And, you know, we were like, what? Fake together for a little bit. At least I thought we was together.
Hey, hold on now. This is going too far to take a turn. Interview is taking a turn. It's taking a turn. We got our gas filled up. All right. Now we emptying. It's the yin and the yang. No, why can't we in the car be full?
You know what I say though? Sharif and I, we definitely came from different, you know, upbringings. You know, I definitely had a really strict upbringing. So I really, you know, my mom did not play having a boyfriend and all that and stuff like that. And he had a little bit more freedom, definitely, because
hood booger.
He was able to be out. And so it was, you know, back then I was like, oh, he's a player and I'm just done. And the world just, you know, it's crazy because, you know, I would have never saw myself being with Sharif. Not like I couldn't see it, not like that, babe. But when you're a freshman in high school, you can't, you know, sometimes if one thing happens, you think, oh my God, my world is ending. Things are done. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we were both growing, you know, maturing into, you know, who we are now. We're still growing, but it's just crazy how life turns around. And, you know, it's so funny. I said a prayer like, God, if he's meant for me, please bring him back. But I was like, bring him back tomorrow. And it was like years later. So it's just crazy. But that's the story, really. So
it might not be on your time, but it always be how.
I love that. Yo,
that is so sweet.
She done did the interview. That's all I
did. See, hey man, I ain't interrupt her. I said, you know, as a married man, I've learned. Shut up.
I know that's right. I know that. So shout out to the wife. So, but you mentioned a lot of the greats, right? And because you mentioned the greats, who's on your comedic Mount Rushmore? Who would that be?
Oh, that's a great question, man. My comedic Mount Rushmore would be, I have to put Eddie Murphy up there. I love Eddie. Richard Pryor. Oh, I might mess y'all up with this one, man. I don't know if y'all know him, but I love him. Tony Woods.
Mm,
I'm gonna throw Tony Woods up there. He's a GOAT.
wow.
And I gotta go with one of my all-time favorites, Bernie Mac.
Mac, I know that's right.
Mhm.
Ask your
Let me
wife. I
tell
want
you
her to.
something.
I want Mac. I want your wife to answer that. Who would be on hers? Her
Who's your
mom.
Mount Rushmore?
On mine, I mean, I definitely
This is a
love.
setup question.
Oh God! Of course, my husband Sharif.
There you go. There you go.
All right, all right.
I just got a prepper. Medium prep. Hey, man. I'm telling you, this car filled up and we emptied so fast.
You guys are good. He was so excited for this interview. He was so excited for it. So, and I want to watch it again. I mean, I'm gonna definitely follow y'all. This is exciting. Thank
That's
you.
what's up. You're welcome. You're welcome. We love this gentleman right here. Amazing. You know, there's
Love y'all.
when it comes to, you know, when it comes to women in comedy, right? It seems that there's this division of you just got women and then you got the men, you know.
Right.
What's your thoughts on?
Oh, wait, could I add one last
Yeah,
one? Did
please
I
go.
say so?
Yep,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, Wanda Sykes, bro.
I love Wanda. Yep,
Wanda
absolutely.
Sykes.
I don't think Wanda's that funny.
You know,
What?
she has like this
What?
dry comedy that I think
No.
is just so funny. She's so witty.
She is,
I like
Yeah.
her in her. I like her shows,
yes.
comedic wise. But when I watch her stand up, I
Yeah.
like dry humor too.
Yeah.
I like dry humor best.
Yes.
But
You know what though, Wanda? I don't know if you watch it recent, because that's how I look at a lot of. There's comedians who are my favorite, where the work they're putting out now may not have been as good as it was in the past. But it's it's like being an athlete. You know, how long can Jordan be the best player in the world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I kind of look at Wanda like now the stuff maybe not, but her past work and a lot of her body of work. Maybe not today, right? I don't know, because I haven't kept up with it today. But most of her work, top notch. She's a great writer, definitely.
yeah.
Leslie Jones is a beast too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love Leslie Jones. And believe me, Monique before she started calling her man daddy, dope.
Agree.
Yeah.
You know,
Monique, please, Monique. I hope Monique don't see this, because she's gonna hit me with the
yeah,
hello, honey.
babies. See, everybody's a baby.
Just gotta correct you.
I like some more
baby.
too.
That's what I was going to say. Now, some more and
like
Adele
Simone.
Givens. I go back to the whole
Oh my God, some more.
the Russell
Some more.
Simmons, the
Adele
the
Givens.
Def Comedy Jam.
Yes.
When they started out,
Yes.
it was real gritty type of raw type of
Yes.
comedy then. But Sharif, I wanted
Yes.
to ask you. You mentioned your childhood and also becoming a parent at 17. What have you
Yes.
what have you approached in life differently because of what you've already endured as far as being a parent?
Okay, I would say everything, because once you become a parent, it changes you automatically. So when I was younger, obviously having the upbringing I had, I've always been outgoing, fun to be around, but I definitely had a lot of anger at a younger age, to where I don't know why, but you feel like you got something to prove in the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt at a young age. Like, I felt like I had something to prove, but all in the worst way. Today, it's flipped in a more positive way, and I can honestly say that's because of my son. And the reason, it's so crazy when I think about it, because I obviously wouldn't recommend nobody having a kid at a young age. Please don't do it if you don't have to do it, man. But what I will say for me personally is it changed the whole course of my life, because I literally went from thinking about, and I wasn't even necessarily even thinking about me when I think about it, you know what I mean? Again, I'm trying to prove, what am I even trying to prove? It's the empty voids I have of trying to put certain energy out because I'm empty in here. And it was something about having my son and realizing when I looked at myself in the mirror, even though I was 17, I was like, would I want my son to be the person I am right now? And the answer honestly was no. So I had to change everything I did. I did a 180, complete 180. I went the opposite way, stopped hanging with certain people, stopped doing certain things. And it made me approach life the way I approach it now, which is I say, all right, and it's very simple. Is this making me better or is it making me worse?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, because when you have a kid, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Is this decision making me better or is it making me worse? Because this decision depends on him.
Yeah.
And he's dependent on me.
Yeah.
So life got fast. It got rough and fast really, really quick for me.
Yeah.
Really, really quick. But in the best, worst way, like I said. Like I remember praying, right? I prayed. This was my 17-year-old prayer.
Right.
I prayed in the shower because I'm not proud of this moment, but this was me at 16. I found out I was having a kid at 16 and he came out when I was 17.
Right.
But I remember at 16 when his mom first told me, I remember like wanting her to get rid of him. I'm not happy about that, but at 16 that's the truth. That's reality. That's my truth. I was like, oh man, I'm too young. Let's not have the baby. And honestly, I had convinced her to do it. Not so I'm proud of, but again, it is true. I was like, yo, I think you should get it. We young, we probably shouldn't have this kid.
Right. And
she was about to get it. And then she talked to my aunt. My aunt called her on the phone and my aunt was like, who raised me, by the way. Shout out to my Aunt Corinne. She told my son's mother, she said, I don't believe in abortions. She was like, but if that's what you want to do, you could do it. And my son's mother was like, I really didn't want to do it either, but, and then, I remember jumping up like, what are you doing? I just convinced her, but you messing up my play. But at the same time, I'm happy that happened because I prayed that night too. I remember I said, God, please, like, I know you worked one of the miracles on Mary before when you took the baby. I don't want you to kill the baby. You don't got to kill the baby, but please take that baby out of her and give it to somebody who needed it. Mm-hmm. And here we are years later, and he did exactly that because I needed my son for sure.
There you go.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I want you to sit in that for a moment because I don't want you to blame yourself for that. That's your truth, right? And that was one of those situations that you had to go through so you can be where you are today, right? And it's a lot of men who feel like that, so I don't want you to be too heavy on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so but I appreciate you for sharing that, man. Because that's heavy, and a lot of us have went through that story, and it's someone who could watch this and say like, wow, I went through that same thing. So don't be too heavy on yourself. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. When you think of, and that made me think of, what is the legacy that you want to leave?
The legacy I want to leave, man, behind is just I want to inspire people to be who you are and be your best. And it's simple. I mean, that may sound cheesy and corny, but that's the legacy I want to leave behind with everything I do. Like, that's why everywhere I go, every room I step in, I always try to be me. I always try to bring Sharif to the room. You know what I mean? Because my thing is, if I'm my best, even if I'm kicked out of that room, at least I know that room's not for me. You know what I mean? Because I was who I am. So that's the legacy I want to leave behind, where it's like, no matter what life throws at you, always be you, because it'll work out. I believe that 100%.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you had to go a one-on-one in a snapping contest, right?
Right.
What comedian would you absolutely be terrified to go a one-on-one against? Who would that be?
None of them.
Okay.
Not one of them. I would. So I'm a competitor, man. Hey,
right.
I welcome it. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Now, who would I want to go against? Right, like in the sense of snapping. Yeah. I can name a few of them. I'd love to go snap with Kevin Hart.
Okay.
Now I'll tell you somebody who is funny. Shout out to my uncle, man. Hey, he not my real uncle, but he my uncle. My uncle D-Ray Davis. He funny.
D-Ray.
D-Ray Davis.
Yeah, D-Ray.
Yeah. Yo, I got so much. Let me tell you, man. I got to shout him out because he one of the first OGs in comedy who didn't owe me anything, but showed me nothing but love. You know what I mean? And that's in this game. I think in life sometimes too, like no matter what business you're in, it's hard to come across like genuine, prosperous relationships where it's like somebody's genuinely being nice and they're genuinely helping you advance without any back end on the, like, you know what I mean? Without any 48 laws of power attached to it. You know what I mean? So I gotta shout him out. But he's a guy I love to go with. Super funny. DC Young Fly is a funny snapper.
Yeah.
Funny
snapper. He's one of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Bring that ass here, boy. Funny. I gotta say he's dope snapper. And Cat Williams, man.
Oh my God.
Oh yes.
He's a problem.
Cat get to rubbing them knees.
Mm.
When he start rubbing his knees, you in trouble.
Yeah. No doubt.
He said, Wanda, your fingers are gnarly.
That's funny.
I'm sorry. Hey, Wanda, she gotta laugh at that now. That's funny.
Shout out to Cat. Shout out to Wanda. You know,
Sharif, where did some of your material come from?
Yeah.
My material comes from my personal life. Everything. So it's funny. Even with the album I have now, right? I have an album out called "I Wish That Was a Joke," and what I found myself doing is, the more truthful I got on stage, and the more I opened up, the funnier, and I don't want to say but the harder the crowd started laughing. You know, I'm telling these people real stories about, you know, like anything goes in my life now at this point. Like if I can't laugh at it, I can't deal with it. I've talked about anything from deaths to abuse, to having a kid, to alcohol, whatever it is, I'll talk about it. Not having my father there, mother situation, the problems we go through in my family. I talk about everything. So my comedy draws from my life. And there's something, and the reason why I like doing that too is it's harder for comedians to steal that. You know, because I've had comedians take jokes right in front of me, and act like they didn't get it from me. So when you talk about your joke, like your life, it's hard to take that. Like they can take concepts, you know what I mean? Like they say, like what do they say? Imitation is flattery. So you can take certain things, and I look at it and I go, okay, I see what you did, but you can't take my life. Nobody else can be Sharif. So that's my way of separating myself as an artist too, to where I'm like, I'm just gonna draw from me. Nobody else is walking this life, and we all walk life, but nobody else is walking my exact life. So I'm gonna paint this picture so well to my view that nobody can take it or tell it like me. So personally, I usually draw from real life experience, and I also I do observational comedy too. Like if I see something going on, like that, let's say the Diddy situation now, I wouldn't touch it now because everybody's gonna touch the Diddy topic, and it's like an easy laugh. Right. And I don't want to, I'm not somebody who's looking for the low hanging fruit on jokes where it's like, the easy punches. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not looking for those. But
you know what? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I'm gonna let you finish. Let you finish.
Right go ahead. Your Kanye moment.
No. So, but listen, what made me jump out like that is because you said something that really stood out, because there's this conversation with comedians and this push against comedians as it relates to, well, it's certain things that y'all just can't talk about, right?
Right.
So what's your thought on, people saying that, they say that, well, comedians take the position of comedians are the last group of people that can at least have this hard conversation and make fun of it. But then you have this polar opposite of, I don't care if you're a comedian, you're not supposed to touch and make fun of it,
Right.
And so what's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on it is comedians are absolutely the last hope for freedom of speech. If you stop comedians from freedom of speech, man, I really believe, and it just look at how, think about before Chappelle came out, right? Like, to me, I love what Damon Wayans Jr. said as far as like Chappelle freed the slaves, right? When Chappelle came out and he started going at every topic, it let a lot off of comedians right now today, to where now you see comedians taking a lot more risk. You know what I mean? Me personally, at that time, I've always been a risk taker. Not saying like I'm not saying I'm better than any other comedian. It's just my take on like how I've been. I've always been a risk taker with the jokes, but I noticed the difference in the comedy world now, where a lot more people are like, okay, we can kind of go there. Like, even if you look at this last roast with Tom Brady, I just feel like that wouldn't have been able to take place a few years before. You know what I mean? Because it would have been, oh, I'm too afraid of being canceled. So, but I believe that comedians, if you can make it funny, it goes. That's my rule. If it's funny, it goes. Everybody may not, you know, and of course, some people aren't going to like that. Like I've done jokes before where people like, I have such a hard time with that. And I'm like, why? Why? Tell me why. And then when they start to break it down and you listen to them, you'll hear that it's not the joke that bothers them. It's their own experience where this triggered them. And now they can't even hear the joke. They can't even hear the joke. You know what I mean? You like, that could be like you may have a joke dancing around like hitting, like, let's say you're a parent and you're doing a joke on like Bernie Mac, for example. I'm gonna punch him in the throat, right? Like, some people will hear that and go, I was abused as a kid. That's not funny. And it's like, did you hear the joke? Do you not? You know what I mean? So some people are, and I say that all to say, the internet has made people feel like everybody's voice is important, and it's not. And it's not. It's not. Everybody's voice is not important. And I'm sorry if you really, and this is why as comedians we have to, like, once you put your joke out and you go, all right, we should always look at it this way. What is the purpose of this joke? Now, if your purpose of this joke is to make people laugh, which is what we do, and there's nothing but efforts of you showing that throughout your joke, that's that person's problem, not yours. And you got to live with that. You got to live with that.
Shouldn't there be some kind of like class with comedians? They have theater for everything else, but there should be something that you can now do to go to school to get timing, to get punchline. Where do you learn that from, except from watching, you know, older comedians or comedians in general?
So the way I learn, and it's so funny, man. The way I learned personally, I came up such a old school way when you think about it, because I grew, like, my comedy now is like, people are starting to just catch on to my comedy and hear me now because I've been developing I'm 9 years in. You know what I mean? I'll be hitting 10 years next year, but I've been grinding through the clubs, the bars. Like, you don't really hear of comedians developing that way in today's time. You know what I mean? Like, I took a really old school route, and I'm proud of it today. At the time, I used to feel like, am I doing it right? But I'm actually proud of it today because of those lessons. You know what I mean? Like, there isn't a class. Like, nobody can teach you timing. That's something you have to learn. Like, there's a reason why in comedy they say every comedian has to find their voice. Nobody can give you a voice. You know what I'm saying? That's between you and God. You know what I'm saying? That's your voice. Nobody can tell you how to. And people can tell you words to speak, but nobody can tell you how to speak. It's already in your DNA. So that's what most comedians, that's why it takes so much time to become a real comedian. Like, it's easy to get into comedy, right? Like, because anybody could do it. Just sign up for open mic. That's why most people go, you know, you got a funny family member or friend, they're like, I could do comedy, because it feels like anybody could do it. You don't really need a license for it. You know what I mean? But you need real stamps to become a real comedian. Only way to do that, to get timing, is to put time in. It's the only way. And there's no other. You can go to a class and learn basics, which I've seen some people do, right? And I remember, I know, so there are certain classes out there, by the way, for comedy, but I will say this personally, and I'm sorry to mess up people's hustle, a lot of those classes are whack. They are. Because what they do is they turn people into robots. That's what I've seen.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, they take that thing that makes you, and then they tell you to be something else. And now you're not being genuine, because the funniest things are genuine. You know what I mean? the funniest thing you can say is going to come from something genuine that you really feel, been through, seen, and believe. So if somebody else is telling you something, you're robotic. And it's almost like, it feel like Beyond Meat.
Yeah.
It's like, it kind of tastes like meat, but something's off. Something's off. And that's how the comedy is. You know what I mean?
No
So
salt.
it's like, you need that time. You got to put those years in.
Yeah.
And the only way to get, I'll say it, and just to repeat on the last callback, the only way to get that time in is to put the time in. I 1000% believe that. So you got to go through the school of hard knocks, which is the circuits, right? Like they don't call it a school, but it is a school,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
when the OGs take you to a little hole in the wall and they say, all right, we produce a show here once the first Monday of every month. When you go there, that's where you're learning. Okay,
Right.
this is how I talk to people. Oh, this joke works on this type of time. Oh, I'm taking too long here. You learn after a while. How do you learn? Bombing. When them crowds look, especially black crowds, boy, they ain't got time. Black people ain't got time for you. So when you up there talk about nothing and they go, boo, boo, you're like, okay, I messed up.
Yeah.
Come back again. You know what I mean? And you learn from the best mistakes. I mean, the best lessons you learn are usually from mistakes. You know what I mean? So that's the only way to really learn. You can go to class. Now, this is what I will say for the class. I think there should be a class on the business of comedy.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe that.
100%.
The funny of comedy, I think you have to put the time in, and it's almost like the experience. You got to get the experience on your own, you know? But the business, I do believe that's the most underrated part of comedy, because there's a lot of hilarious people, women, guys out there who you'll never hear of, and it's not that they're not funny.
Yeah.
It's just that, and I've seen it, these people don't understand the business of comedy. You know what I
Speaking
mean?
of the business of comedy, right? There seems to be this is kind of like a twofold question. There seems to be this division outside of the women and men, but it's division of, like, say for example, social media comedy, comedian versus kind of like a stage, a real kind of seasoned comedian, so to speak.
Yes.
What's your thought on that? And also, when we think of the other two sets of comedians, where you have the clean comics, as they say,
Yes.
and then you have like the Cat Williams of comedy, you know.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on both of those? They're polarizing, but there's two different kind of sets of that. You know, what's your conversation around that?
So my conversation on the social media versus stand-up comedian, right?
Right.
Comedian. Those are two different arts where both of them are to be respected. And the reason, I guess, because I'm a tweener, right? Like, in the sense of I developed an old school way, in the sense of in the clubs, in the bars, I'm performing anywhere. People will listen to me anywhere. You know what I mean? That's how I developed, and I understand why I needed to develop that way. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't develop that way, I would not be ready as I am today. You know what I mean? Like, and what happens is, I understand why some of the OGs used to get mad with the newer comedians and the TikTokers and the Instagrams, the YouTubers, because you had comedians who were making viral videos in a minute clip, going viral, getting 1 million followers. And now they're essentially kicking the stand-up comedian guys who've been working at this 10, 15, 20 years. They getting pushed to the side because they draw more. You know what I mean? And it's not based off the fun. But here's the catch to that, right? The catch is that audience won't keep coming to support you if you're not ready. Like, yeah, you might be hot for a year, 2, 3, or maybe let's even say 5 years. But 5 years compared to a 30-year career, it's a big difference. So my take on it is, I still respect both worlds, and I think I respect both because I do both. And I remember because I grew up around a lot of OGs, and I listened to a lot of the stand-up OGs, like I said, Tony Woods is one, Keith Robinson, Talent is a guy too. Talent's a comedian I've talked to. a lot of the OGs, I used to have a little bit of that mindset too of like, oh, I need to do it the old school way. You know what I mean? But they weren't seeing the beauty of what social media could do. Some of them, not everybody. There are some OGs that got in there and they understood what it was, but they didn't understand the beauty of being able to take your career into your own hands.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because that's the power of social media. You can take your own career and put it in your own hands. You can go get your audience, and now instead of asking, hey, Comedy Central, come look at me, now you can say, hey, why don't you partner with me?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
So what about the clean comic? And
the clean part, clean versus dirt. I just like funny, you know, because Sinbad is one of my, and he's another GOAT. Shout out to Sinbad.
He don't get enough credit.
He don't get enough credit. And man, wow, he got to be on my Mount Rushmore too, man. See, I'm a comedy lover. I really am. Like, I go back to, you ever heard of Mama Maisley?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like, I go back and I really study comedy like before, you know what I mean? Because I feel like in order to understand where I'm going, I got to understand what was here before me.
Right.
And even though we're in different times, history is always likely to repeat itself. That's the funny thing about becoming a comedian too, because it's like I was probably one of the, I don't want to say a terrible student, but I was the best student. But now I find myself being a historian, you know what I mean? Because in order to make people laugh, I need to know people. I have to study people. So, and going back on on comedy, it made me go back and look at all that. So I would say, to me, like some people, it's a preference thing. Some people are like, I don't want to hear profanity, you know, but mainly, you know, the church, those are mainly church crowds, by the way. They're like, I don't want to hear no cussing, you know. So for them, hey, there's comedians for you. You know what I mean? And for other people, like Cat Williams, there's people who like, nah, I need it raw. I need it real. I live real life. All right. I ain't hiding behind no nothing. I need to hear it like it is. And I identify with both of those people because I understand them. You know what I mean? So and I say that to say I can do comedy clean if I want, but I do it. I tell it like it is. That's how I do it. It is what it is. I don't care. This is me. You're gonna hate me or love me. The choice is yours, but I'm gonna be me. However, right? If it was a group, like let's say it's a group of church ladies who I identify, like I can see my grandmother in you, my aunt in you, you know, and you're like, young man, I just don't want to hear that. You know, I'm gonna still make you laugh. I can say it clean. The dirtiness isn't what makes me funny. You know, it's just how I grew up talking. It's just how I grew up where I'm from. However, out of respect for you, I can clean it up just to show you that there's no profanity. Don't make me funny. My mom makes me funny. So that's why I said I can respect both for me. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, you definitely answered the question. I appreciate. Listen, I went over time. It's just great talking to you, man. I can't even believe we've been talking for 45 minutes.
It's been 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
I mean,
don't say that too loud. My wife gonna get jealous. 45 minutes.
That boy could talk. I said they don't know yet, but he gonna keep going.
Well, we gonna let you come back and talk some more. Then.
Yeah, I would love that.
Absolutely.
This platform is beautiful, man.
Yes, it is.
Both of you guys are great souls.
You guys are great.
I'm really happy. We are happy to connect with you guys.
Yeah. But I just want to thank you for having your beautiful wife on also,
thank
man. You know, it's one of those things, you know, we do this play. We don't get paid for what we do, right? We just do it because we love what we do, right?
Yes.
And so when we have, you know, people on, you know, we tend to have some really good people on because it's about the energy, but we do this for our folk. To amplify the greatness that they're doing because you're Black excellence. And we want to make sure that we give that platform to those who are not only doing what you do, but maybe want to do what you do. And you might be the inspiration for them to do so.
Yes, sir. Yes,
absolutely. And so we really appreciate you for coming on. We appreciate your wife for being a co-host with you.
Yes.
Come on now.
And getting y'all out that tunnel and getting y'all some gas.
Listen, we're filled now, but I gotta have him tell y'all what he says after he ends every set, which I appreciate. And you gotta say what you said.
I always say at every set, I say every day we alive is a blessing. Never forget to laugh. It's my go-to.
Absolutely.
Love that.
You got to take a day every day, man. And when you think about it that way, it makes you, most of the problems you think about, you go, you know, it ain't that bad. Most of them.
And I just want to say that was it the therapist you guys had before?
Oh yeah, I saw her.
I love that. I think it's so important that you guys are tapping into so many professions, and I think I'm gonna be a fan, so I'm gonna follow you guys when I get in the house, and I'm excited. I'm gonna tell people, so we gotta make this bigger.
Yeah,
yes, we
excited.
do.
Nah,
absolutely.
We really appreciate
Thank you.
that. You know, you know what? That's why we do it. You know, we do it for the people. We do this out of labor of love. You know, and so we're going to continue doing this. You go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to tell you on air because I'm stealing this. That's merchandise right there. LOL, labor of love.
Wow.
Sorry, I know we going over, but I do want to say this. I work in healthcare, and
y'all can have it if y'all want, or I can keep it.
There you go. Just give us some credit. You know, that's all good.
Right? I work in healthcare, and when I do orientation, I tell everybody, you know, healthcare is not easy. And shout out to everyone who is in healthcare. But I always tell people that instead of focusing on how to be successful in life, you know, focus on how to be helpful. Because when you're helpful, those doors are going to open for you. And I think that's the real success. So I say that you guys are focusing on how to be helpful to all your viewers. So success is just bound to happen. I feel successful being on. So
yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
You are successful. You know,
you
are. You know.
Hey, she didn't feel successful for being my woman, but coming on here, I tell you, boy, I tell you.
Nah, feel successful for getting home safe. She got you home safe.
I tell you, man.
Oh man, you know, this was a great interview. We're solutions based, right? Because you know, all of the problems in the world, we can say these are the problems, but our thing is always pointing at how can we fix it, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about the solutions. How can we make these things better? How can we make the world better? How can we fix the issues and the L's that's going on in the community? So that's what we do. You know, we just like to have fun in doing it and making sure that anyone who watched this can relate, because everyone, look, it's a lot of mess in the world. We don't have to be that. We're not the TMZ. We tell people all the time, you want TMZ the shade room? That's not who we are, right? And we're not the David Coppels. You know, we're not the Oprah Winfrey's. It's a lot of those. That's not who we are, right? We talk weekly. And so we do what we like to do because we love our people, and that's why we do it. You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
That's what I feel.
That's what
I feel
what
that.
feel
That's
too.
what I mean. I feel the love, and you should feel good after being a part and watching something like this. So I feel that.
Me too.
You guys are great. And Sparkle, I just love your name too.
Thank you.
Everyone loves Sparkle. Everyone loves Sparkle.
That light-skinned women can't stick together. Y'all better stop. Y'all better stop.
That's
Sparkle light-skinned.
so that's funny. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Before we let you leave real quick, why don't you let everyone know how they can get in contact with you, all that good old stuff. Yeah.
So you can get in contact with me everywhere at R as in Robert, because when I say R, sometimes people hear something else. Reef Comedy, RIEF Comedy. That's RIEF Comedy. That's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and whatever else they're going to create, man. Please be on the lookout for my album that drops next week called I Wish That Was a Joke. And I also shot a self-documentary feature that will come out in September, October, sometime in the fall, called The Hustle. And also Power Book 3, Raising Canaan, season 4 coming out in the fall also too. I'll be on season 4. Yes.
Oh, that's dope.
That's
That's dope.
up.
Congratulations
That's
for that.
up.
And one
Thank
thing
you,
we
bro.
say on the show is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. But I think you'll be great. I want you and your wife to come on our New Year's Eve show. We have something where we do like a full kind
wrap
of
up.
4-hour show pretty much, and we want y'all to come on.
We committed. We
Yes, I'll be booking it now.
For sure.
All right.
I'll let Sheila know for sure.
Looking at that. She hit you with the Disney Channel thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, amazing show. All right, y'all. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you to go anywhere. When we come back, we got the sizzle right here
good
today.
news
So we got
and
good
bad
news and bad
news.
news. We
Shout
got
out
some
to
good news and bad
Sizzle.
news. Shout out to Sizzle. So we'll see you on the other side. We'll be right back, y'all. Holla.
What's going on, you guys? This is Bridget Kelly, and you are locked into We Talk Weekly.
Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPP MLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and Beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And we are here today. What an amazing
They were
interview.
fun.
Yeah, they were fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have him back on the show a couple times. I think he will be good as a
absolutely.
Someone jump on every now and then, give us some, as they say, some comedic relief.
Yeah,
Comedy relief. I
absolutely.
think that would be great. So, you ready for good news or bad news?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn my camera off just so I don't have a streaming problem. Is that
There
cool?
you go. No, that's cool. There you go. Holla at me.
All right. All right.
I don't have the music, unfortunately. I don't have
Oh,
anything, but
okay.
I know,
Well,
but give it to
we're
me
gonna make it
early.
work.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Officers arrived to find Andrea Glaze, 36, had been shot in the head at her home at the 1300 block of South 30th Street in Grays Ferry section of Philadelphia. Did you hear about this story, C?
I didn't.
Nearby, they found a 42-year-old Richard Harper who had apparently died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound with a gun lying next to him. Glaze was a special education teacher and a beloved teacher at Alany High School. The principal there, Michael Rolfe, said that she embodied the school's mantra and blessed every student and staff members that came across her way. A memorial began to form at her office, known as the Hub, where students often sought after her for support. A vigil for Glaze will be held on Monday, and a GoFundMe already has been established to create a scholarship fund in her honor. The district's Office of Prevention and Intervention was at the school Tuesday after the shooting, along with counselors and mental health professionals, and basically to give the assistance to children and the staff support via Zoom or in person.
Wow, did they know why? They don't know.
It was a murder-suicide. It was her, allegedly it was her boyfriend.
Yeah, was she, I don't know. That's crazy. Was he
I think it's still under investigation, but
wow,
as far as the reasoning, there would be, he was her boyfriend, and whatever it is, it wasn't enough to take her life. If he wanted to take his own.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it, man. That's a shame, And apparently everyone loved her.
She was a
right?
teacher at Alany.
Wow.
Yeah. She beautiful,
Come on,
beautiful
Philly,
young
we gotta
lady.
do better. Yeah, we gotta do better, Philly, no doubt.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. On a better note, a Philadelphia jury has just found ExxonMobil Corporation liable for $725.5 million in damages to a former mechanic, Paul Gill, who claimed that he had exposure to benzene in the company's petroleum products caused his cancer. According to Gill's lawyers, the jury concluded that Exxon failed to warn him of the risks associated with benzene and the gasoline and solvents. He worked for Mobil Service Station as a mechanic from 1975 to 1980. Gill's lawyer stated that Exxon had consistently avoided warning the public about basic safety measures to reduce benzene exposure.
Interesting.
Yeah, but ExxonMobil said that the jury's decision was irrational, and they are planning to seek a reversal from the court before the verdict becomes final. So,
I'm glad you're getting compensated.
yeah.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of products that we use here, especially in America, that's not allowed in different countries.
Oh, absolutely. That's going viral.
And so we need to start making it known of what products have very damaging effects on people that's here in America, and stop and hold those people accountable. Yo, why are you, just because you want to make a couple extra bucks, you want to experiment on me?
Right.
I heard that they don't even allow certain sodas in certain places. They don't even allow red candy in certain places, let
Yellow
alone
number
candy,
5.
period.
Yeah, red, and that's in everything. Fructose corn syrup
Yeah,
is
high
in,
fructose corn
yeah,
syrup. Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything. So,
Listen, I just heard that one of the worst chips on the planet is Pringles. They can't even say that they're chips anymore. They have to say that they're Pringles.
Oh, wow.
And they
They
are
have to
the
call it by
best.
the
Yeah, they
wow.
have to call it by the name, and they some of the best teeth. I mean, I don't. I can see why people love them, but
But
it's all chemical.
because it has an addictive property in it that's a
Yeah.
chemical too, that
Wow.
people want to keep
Yeah.
coming after. I'm gonna do one more
Yeah.
story
Go ahead.
based on time, but
Yep.
I wanted to know, do you have this link of this next
Uh,
story?
I don't. I can't. Unfortunately, YouTube been striking us. Even Facebook been striking us when we're playing other things. So no, I don't have it. But
All
you can
right.
talk
Well,
about it.
all right. So this next story in North Braddock, Pennsylvania, a
Right.
shocking incident unfolded at Jesus Dwelling Place Church during a sermon when Bernard Jr. Polite,
Yeah.
26, attempted to shoot Reverend Glenn Jeremy.
Yeah.
Did you see this or hear
I
about
did
this?
see it. I
All
did
right.
see it.
So
That was crazy.
the Reverend was actually live streaming during services when the assailant Polite's gun jammed.
Yeah.
He was tackled by a church deacon. Once he was tackled, which was a slow tackle,
I know. It's like, what's going on? Why are you just watching this guy?
it was a slow tackle. But on seriousness, that was real. Like he came
Yeah.
with the gun. Law enforcement charged Polite with homicide in connection to his cousin's death.
Oh, wow.
Witnesses observed Polite pacing outside his residence on the morning of the church incident, where a neighbor heard a possible gunshot. Well, the remarkable twist was that Polite allegedly confessed to attempting to kill the pastor, but they
Jeez.
also found his cousin's body
Wow.
dead. So he just killed somebody prior to.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
these people are, yo,
So
they need the doctor. The doctor, where's she at? We need to bring her back on to talk to some
yeah,
of these people.
I
They
mean,
really have
really.
some mental health issues out there. People are really suffering out there, and it's hard to have any empathy with someone who does such a heinous act, but you know they are suffering mentally. So it's kind of, you have to weigh it like, wow, like, this
Yeah.
person is sick. And that's why they
Well,
did that. Yeah.
good thing that the one of the deacons, McAllister, his swift action as an act of heroism, basically tackled the gunman.
Yeah.
Even though the gun jammed, he
I was
still
about to
tackled
say, yeah.
him and took the gun away.
Ironically, you go into a church to shoot someone, and the creator allows the gun to
Mm,
jam. Did you think of that?
mm.
And
Say
there's
it
a
again.
God.
Say
There's a
it
God.
again.
There you
Say it
go.
again. He just
Ironic.
killed
Yep.
somebody prior to coming to kill another
Ironically.
person. And he
The,
stood there with the gun
yep.
pointing at the pastor and it jammed.
And it jammed. You go into the Lord's house.
And
Lord
it
was
was all
like,
caught on tape.
Yep. That's wild.
So
No doubt.
that was your good
Okay.
news and your bad news from your girl, Classy Lady Sparkle.
And that was your good news and bad news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your boy, Charles Gregory, the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And this is We Talk Weeklies After the Talk on WPPMRP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weekly After the Talk. And that's our show, ladies and
And we got
gentlemen.
through it.
We got through it. Yes. We
Technical
got through it.
difficulties and all.
Yeah. You might have to start with your phone or something, at two people. Or we got to get that internet fixed. We got to do
They're
something.
coming. They're coming. They got to do it underneath the ground. They got to dig.
No doubt. No doubt.
Hmm.
Well, great show. Tune in. Make sure y'all tune in next week and a week after that and a week after that. And you can always support. Make sure you support We Talk Weekly on Cash App. $ We Talk Weekly. We do this out of a labor of love. We had a dynamic show. Super excited for all of the guests that we had on. Like the doctor, like the gentleman and his wife. They did this co-hosting
They
thing
were
with us
so
today. They were really
cute.
good. Yeah, for sure. And they liked the show, so that's a good thing. So they're gonna
Sharif was
tell a
funny.
friend. I know. Tell a
Did
friend.
you
Tell
hear
a
the
friend.
part where he was like, "Yeah, you had your Kanye moment"? You didn't
Yeah.
hear that part.
No, I missed that.
Wait, you was like when you told him, you was like, "Oh, my fault for cutting you off." He was like,
Yeah.
"It's cool. You had your Kanye
Oh,
moment.
no
You ain't."
doubt. I'm gonna let you finish, but that's funny.
Yeah, that
And
was
so
hilarious.
I know. That's funny. So, but there you have it. We gotta go, Classy Lady. We
All
out
right,
here
y'all.
like last year, right?
Peace.